And welcome back to Auto Smarts. We are proud to be joined on the program by Boots, the one and only, the king of customizers, George Barris. And Dr. Barris, how are you today, sir?
Well, we're just doing real great. We got weather like yours. We're about 80 degrees, getting ready to get to 102.
Oh,
nice.
Well, you're a guy that's always been red hot. I mean, you look at your career, and it's amazing what you've accomplished in a mere 89 years. But, you know, personally for me, there's three favorites that I go over, and that's the Batmobile, the Munster Koach, and what I call the Mannix Mobile, because that was my era. I mean, did you know from a young age that you were that creative with cars?
Well, to tell you the truth, yes. And the reason why is that every time I went to school, I would be kicked out.
All right.
Because they give me cooking, sewing. I said, I don't want to cook. I don't want to sew. I want to do cars. And, of course, immediately they changed me around. So I went over to a guy's shop along the railroad track and got a little 32 Ford, and I put a set of cat-eye lights on. I was only 15. I put a set of cat-eye taillights on it, and, boy, it looked just great. I made one mistake. I found out later in life that whenever you get a good idea, trademark it.
Right.
So I used the name Kustoms with a K. Now, can you imagine how many times Kustom with a K has been used all over the world?
Oh, yeah.
So that was one thing I learned, that when you do it and protect it and enjoy it. And from there, I started sectioning, full fadeaways, cat-eye taillights, you name it, we tried to get it.
So okay, before we came on the show today, Rand and I were talking about you. And I remember as a little boy, I put, I don't know how many of your models together, how many of your Hot Wheels I had. And, you know, you were a legend when I was a little guy. And you probably hear that a lot. But, heck, I'm 46. And you were just the man. I mean, actually, one of the reasons I'm kind of such a big gearhead is because of you. So how many guys and gals come up to you and say that to you?
Well, we had quite a lot, especially in the toy business. I got together in 1960 with AMT.
Right.
And we started with Revell in 57. But Revell didn't market it. They lived along the beach, and they loved to enjoy it. And when I went to Detroit and Chicago, I got hooked up with AMT. And boy, did we make everything. In fact, we would make models of the cars before they were made as a full-size car. And it kind of switched the world around, because making models and, of course, the different areas that you got now, the toy companies, is fantastic.
Talking with George Barris, the king of customizers, which was the biggest challenge and the most rewarding when you look back on it, of my big three, the Batmobile, the Munster Koach, or the Mannix Mobile?
Well, I tell you the truth, they're all challenges, but it depends on where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Batman was really a switch over because Batman was so strong. The Munsters they were so funny, because when I went to the studio and looked, they had an old hearse there. I looked at the producer and I looked at the hearse. I said, that family should not be in our hearse. So I run home with my wife, Shirley, and we went out and we took some photos and we cut them up and made a 6-door Model T. The first time in history with a 6-door Model 2 with a bacon raisin door. It kicked up on the back. We had to put Butch on a red carpet up on the back of the rear seat with red felt seats. And to get all the family in there, the middle went to the honesty of what he wanted to make. And then we had multiple carburetors, gold exhaust coming out the side, and lights that flashed at everybody. And this is what we found out in doing cars for not only people and kids and collectors and the film industry. You got to make it where it's wanted, because if it's not, then it gets shifted over to the side and they forget it. And we found out that cars and people and friends all loved to do something that they could enjoy.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, I feel that I'm getting up in my years, and when I talk to the young men and women that are in their early 20s, how are we going to preserve our love for this culture? Do you think? I know I sound like my dad, but it's been a big stall in our love, because I don't think that the young men and women actually care like we did. They're just A to B. They'll buy a Prius. They could care less how cool it is, and they just drive it. I mean, what are me and you going to be dinosaurs someday?
Well, I tell you, you are right. But it's going to take guys like you to reach out and get them organized to like it like we did.
Right.
And if it wasn't for you to communicate with any collector or anybody, I don't care if it's a Model A, a Model T, a toy, an art piece, whatever, it all means, just like Chip Booth. Chip Booth started out, his dad was a customizer, and Chip went to Art Center and learned how to design cars.
Right.
And that just goes to show you that every which way you want to do it, you can do it if you make up your mind. And my big word is do it.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think it's neat because he mentioned Prius, George, and I know you actually worked on a Prius in 2005, did you not?
Well, that was a real challenge. The New York Times came to me with a Toyota, and they said, "What do you think of this new Prius?" I says, "Well, it is a little bit, you don't have flashlights to make turns, you don't do this, you don't do that, and that. And they said, "Well, what would you do to it?" I said, "I would love to it." He says, "You got 10 days and 10 grand. I says, "Well, you can't do much for 10 days and you can't do much for 10 grand, but I'll take the challenge." So I took it, and they brought the car to me, and I put, boom, the first thing I did is I put Lamborghini doors on it.
On a Prius?
And I put LED lights along the side so that when you're driving and you're going to make a lane change on a freeway, you never know that because the flashing lights are in the rear. And I clicked the thing, and the side lights along the doors flash, and then people know, oh, that guy wants to make a turn. So they watch out for it. So we found out it really did the job, and the New York Times loved it. They says, "We love it. We're going to put you on the front page, and we're going to do this and do that." I said, "Oh, that'll be wonderful." And then Toyota said, "Well, Mr. Barris, you can keep it." I said, "Fine. I'll show you what we can do." And here it is to the day, and that's been years. And to the day, I take that Prius out, and wherever I go, car shows or drive-ins or whatever, I come over and I raise up my Lamborghini doors, and out the door I go, and
Wow.
I painted it a yellow, gold, pearl, and green tints, and it's just everything's a challenge, and it's just a lot of fun.
So out of all the cars, I guarantee in your lifetime, there's a car that you always wanted to toy with. What car escaped your toolbox? Is there a car still that you say, that's one car I wish I got my hands on and I got to customize? Do you have one off the top of your head?
Well, I got one car I really want to do now.
Okay.
And that is a hot rod hybrid, 32 Ford hot rod hybrid.
Okay.
And the reason why is every time I go to the Grand National and I look at the cars of 32 Fords, they're all the same.
Right.
Painted headlights and I said, that's so boring. Come on, you guys, we got imaginations. Let's try to do something different. Oh no, man! I want my wire wheels and I want my little painted headlights. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make up. I got a hold of Galpin Ford over, and we got a Fusion,
Right.
and we're pulling the chassis right out of a Fusion so we can have a full hot rod made out of a hybrid.
That's cool.
And it's going to be fun because can you imagine coming into the show and coming in and talk to the people? It's the same way we did with the Prius. We're going to change the face of Detroit.
Absolutely.
God bless you for all you've done, George. He was in Hitchcock movies with his cars. He designed a gold rolls for Zsa Gabor and can even talk hybrids.
Oh, that was a real nice challenge.
Yeah. I tell you what, you've been special for many years. Boots has idolized you, and it's great to have you on the show. May you have 89 more successful years. God bless you. And George Barris, thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All righty.
We'll pause and remind you, after talking to a legend, this is Auto Smarts.